everybody, and welcome back to Weirs and Waterfalls and Planet Coaster. This will probably be the final episode for this series. I think I've squeezed out of it everything that I wanted to in terms of different ways of making water look like it's flowing in Planet Coaster. And of course there's an update coming up, so who knows, maybe Frontier will give us flying water in the update, in which case much of this might become redundant. So anyway, in this video I'm trying to build a natural looking waterfall, which is really just water cascading down rocks. And I started by placing a sloping corrugated iron roof and used that as a guideline to build a column of rocks. Now in the series so far I've built a couple of different types of weir. There was just a standard sort of brick looking weir, a weir with a V-notch, a weir made of logs, which I eventually used in the Manor Farm Park. There was a weir made of larger logs and a weir with an arch in it, and then finally the beaver dam in the previous video. So now it's just a natural waterfall structure. Again, we've got the two split level stream, or the two water bodies representing a split level stream with a land bridge between them, and we're now just filling it up with rocks basically to make it look like a natural rock waterfall. So I got to the top of the weir height and then realized that I probably didn't have the width that I wanted in terms of the total rock face. So I went back and pasted in another set of corrugated iron pieces and went down beside and replicated the entire structure, trying to copy different parts of it to different places on the second column, so it didn't look like it was two identical columns of rock, until eventually I had a reasonably wide rock face. And then the next step was to get in there with some water jets and start experimenting with how to get the water to cascade down the face of these rocks. Now, there's a couple of factors to take into consideration in getting water bouncing around on rocks so that it looks good. Obviously, the water jets in the game completely disregard the presence of the rock scenery. They just go through them like they're not there. So I had to experiment with different forms of the water jets, or different sized jets, different directions, using the splashy fountain water effect, and just positioning them in different groups and sets, like having 5 or 6 in a row, or even a dozen, or having them set at slightly different angles, and slowly but surely built up this water face, I suppose you'd call it, cascading down the rock face. Now where the water is cascading down the rocks and then hitting a flat rock surface, it seemed to look quite good. And again, this is somewhat inspired by just scouring the net for pictures of waterfalls, to have the appearance of, I suppose you'd say, a thick white line. From a distance it looks like a thick white line of turbulence or foam or froth, where it's hitting a long straight piece of rock. So waterfalls tend to have this mixture of horizontal lines with white foam and not so much, where there's just lots of sort of chaos and chaotic shapes in the waterfall. So again, this was just trial and error, really, experimenting with having water splashing around in all different ways, having horizontal splash lines or bounce lines in the water, or having water bounce off a rock and then go off at an angle and come down from a different direction on the next rock, and so on and so on. It was trial and error for probably, I'd say about an hour, something like that, maybe an hour and a half, just to get all these different shapes going. Tried different fountains, tried squirting water up and having it cascade down in a sort of a mist. Tried using arcs at 45 degrees or even just 10 or 15 degrees and just getting the water to look in all different shapes and flavours as it's coming down the side of this rock face. So I think there wasn't really that much to it other than just constantly pulling back and looking at the way in which the water is falling, and the feeling that it's cascading down in an orderly but disorderly fashion. Orderly in the sense that it is following the shape of the rocks underneath it, so that it looks like it's actually cascading down a rock face, but at the same time disorderly in the sense that there's some randomness as the water bounces around somewhat unpredictably as it's coming down. And then once I'd got enough different patterns going, some of these sort of straight line looking areas and some of these cascades, then I was able to use the copy tool to slide these sets of jets across the face and then move them back and forward and in and out and maneuver them about until they looked natural, considering. So if there was a straight piece of rock with a foamy bit in one location, I could drag that to another location, replicate it, and then move just a couple of the jets so that it didn't look exactly identical. So you can see it sort of taking shape there. Added a few more splashes at the bottom, a bit more random direction to some of the splashing. What else have we got going on here? On the upstream side, of course, I've got to get the water going over the lip of the waterfall, looking good. And the problem here is the appearance of the water as it accelerates across that lip, not looking like it's sort of leaping out of the upper water level and jumping over the rock. So that took a bit of trial and error, again, a bit of messing around, but in the end we got there and it looked pretty good, I think. I added a little bit of steam because I think I watched a few videos of waterfalls in different locations, and the splashier the run, the more there seems to be this water mist in the air around the rocks. So I added a couple of steam grates to just see whether that would enhance the effect. I think it looked better than not having it, so I kept that in there. And then the usual foliage and underwater foliage and ivy and bushes everywhere as per normal. And yeah, that was the finished product. I think it turned out fairly well. Add a few trees, and there we are, finished. Well, that's the end of this series, and I will continue with the Manor Farm series now, so I hope to see you over there. Thanks for watching. Bye.